Imagine a digital time bomb, right? Planted deep in the foundation of the internet back when, back when Bill Clinton was president.
Ah, wow. Yeah, that long ago.
Yeah. And it has just been sitting there, hiding in critical server code, completely undetected by human cybersecurity engineers for 29 years.
Right, which is terrifying all on its own.
Exactly. And the entity that finally discovers it, it's not some team of elite hackers. It is an autonomous AI agent, and it's moving at machine speed.
Which fundamentally changes the entire threat landscape we're living in right now.
Mhm.
I mean, when defense starts operating at the speed of silicon rather than, the speed of human thought, the old rules of the tech industry simply stop applying.
So true. And look, if you are gearing up for a major tech strategy meeting this week, or if you're just desperately trying to avoid information overload in the AI space, you've probably noticed how insanely noisy things have gotten lately.
Oh, it's a mess out there. Constant noise.
It really is. It feels like every single day there's a new lawsuit or some new CEO taking shots on social media or another breathless press release.
Yeah, but that noise is actually incredibly effective at hiding what's really important.
Exactly. And that is our mission for this deep dive. We are taking the July 13th, 2026 edition of the Tech Reader AI Digest by Aaron Rose, and we're using it to cut straight through that distraction.
Because right now, the loudest stories in AI are actively masking the most consequential, foundational shifts happening entirely in the background.
Yeah, so we are going to synthesize the raw data from this week's digest to really see the bigger picture.
And when you look closely at these four developments we're covering, you kind of stop seeing isolated headlines. You start seeing a highly coordinated game of chess across hardware, enterprise software, global security, and raw compute power.
It's fascinating. And the absolute best example of this dynamic, like the loud noise hiding the real strategy, it actually started over the weekend.
Oh, the Apple thing.
Yes. On July 11th, Apple filed this massive trade secret lawsuit against OpenAI. But if you were online, you probably didn't hear a word about the actual legal filing.
Not a peep.
Because the second the news broke, Elon Musk essentially hijacked the entire narrative on X. He started needling Sam Altman about OpenAI's hiring practices. Altman fired back, and suddenly the entire tech media is just covering a weekend Twitter war.
It functions exactly like a street brawl breaking out in front of a bank while a heist is happening out back.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
Right. The public and the media, they get completely caught up in the interpersonal drama, and the massive corporate stakes just fade into the background.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Elon is picking a fight on social media, but what is actually buried in that legal filing? The digest notes that OpenAI apparently poached over 400 former Apple employees.
And the specific departments those employees came from. That reveals the entire strategy right there.
Right, because these weren't just any engineers.
Exactly. These engineers were pulled directly from Apple's M-series chip architecture team, along with veterans from Apple's scrapped self-driving car program.
Which is wild. That car program was famously shut down, completely dismantled. But the advanced AI chip technology they developed for it is suddenly the crown jewel of this massive talent dispute.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the operational weight this places on OpenAI is just staggering. And it's almost entirely invisible to anyone just reading social media.
How so? What are they dealing with behind the scenes?
Well, think about it. OpenAI is currently juggling the rollout of GPT 5.6.
Right.
Plus, they are managing the fallout from a reset bug that just hit 500,000 ChatGPT work users.
Oh, yeah, that was a huge mess.
Huge mess. And they just acquired North Slope to embed engineers inside enterprise customers. But most importantly, they're doing all of this while navigating a $730 billion IPO process.
A $730 billion initial public offering. But, how does a lawsuit about poaching engineers actually threaten an IPO of that scale? Is it really that big of a deal?
Oh, absolutely. When a company prepares to go public, they have to file an S-1 document with regulatory agencies. It's a foundational disclosure form, right?
Right, or you have to list out all the risks.
Exactly. You are legally required to lift every material risk to your business. So a trade secret liability of this scale, involving literally the most powerful consumer tech company on the planet, that is a massive disclosure risk.
Because it opens them up to discovery, right?
Yes. It forces OpenAI to open their books and their internal communications to scrutiny. And that heavily complicates the narrative they want to present to Wall Street investors.
Wow. So while the executives are, trading barbs online and making memes, Apple is quietly forcing OpenAI into this really tight regulatory corner.
It's a brilliantly timed move.
But the digest also mentions Apple's hardware roadmap here, the M6, M7, and M8 processors. If Apple decides to play hardball based on this dispute and restricts OpenAI's integration into the iOS ecosystem, doesn't that fundamentally alter the consumer AI market overnight?
It totally does. It gives Apple the ultimate leverage because they control the physical layer.
The actual phones and laptops.
Right. Those M-series chips dictate how on-device AI functions for billions of users.
Yeah.
So this lawsuit isn't just about, punishing OpenAI for hiring some engineers. It is Apple signaling that they own the hardware ecosystem and they can absolutely revoke access if they feel threatened.
Which perfectly illustrates the concept of ecosystem lock-in. Apple is clearly tightening its grip on the consumer hardware side. But reading through this digest, there's this parallel, almost invisible war happening right now to lock in the enterprise software ecosystem, too.
Oh yeah, the agent protocol war.
Yes. Because, as we know, hardware is entirely useless without the infrastructure to direct the data flowing through it.
Exactly. And in the enterprise space, the battle over who controls that infrastructure has reached a complete boiling point this week.
Okay, here's the lineup from the digest. Google, Microsoft, Salesforce, Snowflake, and ServiceNow have officially formed an alliance. They're trying to create a shared AI back-end software protocol.
A direct rival to Anthropic's Model Context Protocol.
Right, MCP. And there is just a hilarious contradiction baked into this whole thing.
Oh, the Linux Foundation thing.
Yeah. Yes. All 5 of these tech giants are currently cooperating in the Linux Foundation's Agentic AI Foundation, like smiling for the press releases, talking about open standards, but in the open market, they're having an absolute knife fight over who actually controls the standard.
It is the ultimate corporate paradox. I mean, they collaborate in the standardization committee, and then they literally go to war in the procurement office.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you hear protocol wars, it sounds, incredibly abstract and dry. But let's look at this like the railroad boom in the 1800s.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Back then, different companies built tracks with different widths or gauges, right? If your train didn't fit the track, you couldn't move your cargo. It was that simple.
Right.
AI protocols are the modern railroad tracks. And Anthropic's MCP has essentially become the standard gauge over the last 18 months for how AI agents connect to enterprise data.
They definitely dominated early on.
So I have to push back on this new alliance a bit. Anthropic has an 18-month head start. They have the developer tooling, they have the integrations. Can a committee of 5 slow-moving giants really just announce a new railroad gauge and expect all of Anthropic's existing foundational work to evaporate?
What's fascinating here is that this is not a technical battle where the best code wins. It is purely a vendor relationship war.
Interesting.
Because of the data.
Exactly. Look at who is on that signatory list. Salesforce, Snowflake, and ServiceNow. Collectively, they touch almost all of the world's structured enterprise data. They hold the cargo, to use your analogy.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, Google and Microsoft own the cloud infrastructure. They own the physical land the tracks are actually built on.
So they already hold the keys to the castle.
Right. They own the entire procurement pipeline. When an IT buyer at some Fortune 500 company has to choose an AI agent stack, they usually just default to the giants they already pay millions of dollars to every single year. It's the path of least resistance because it's safer for their job, basically.
Precisely. However, your point about Anthropic's head start is crucial here. This new alliance doesn't mean Anthropic's standard is dead. Not at all.
Really? Even against those 5?
Yeah, because the fact that this alliance exists at all proves how incredibly successful Anthropic's MCP actually was. It landed so perfectly that it genuinely terrified the incumbents. It scared Google and Microsoft so much that they were willing to publicly align with their biggest rivals just to counter Anthropic.
That is a great point. So they teamed up just to stop Anthropic from fully owning the tracks of the enterprise AI world.
Exactly.
But look, if Google and Microsoft are successfully squeezing Anthropic out of standard B2B workflows, Anthropic isn't just going to sit around and wait to die. The digest shows they are pivoting hard into a space where they can make themselves entirely indispensable.
National cybersecurity infrastructure.
Right, which is just a massive pivot.
And honestly, that transition is arguably the most critical story for global security in the entire digest.
Let's lay out the facts for you listening. Anthropic has massively expanded something called Project Glasswing. They've tripled this program to 150 critical organizations across 15 countries. We're talking utilities, hospital networks, financial
The
systems.
backbone of society, basically.
Exactly. And they are deploying a restricted export control model known as Claude Mythos. Its sole purpose is to autonomously find and patch software vulnerabilities in critical code bases.
And we have to talk about the timing of this aggressive expansion because it comes against a very dark backdrop. The threat vector has fundamentally changed in just the last few months.
Yeah, the catalyst here is this new security report from Sysdig. They documented something called JadaPuffer, and JadaPuffer is the first end-to-end autonomous AI ransomware operation.
It is terrifying.
It doesn't rely on human operators clicking buttons or finding entry points. It hunts, it breaches, and it encrypts at pure machine speed.
But on the defensive side, Anthropic just had a massive triumph.
Right. Through a Glasswing audit, the Claude Mythos model discovered CVE 2026-47729.
Which is that vulnerability in the Squidweb proxy, the one that's been hiding since 1997.
A 29-year-old memory leak bug found by an AI before human attackers could exploit it. So what does this all mean for you and your data?
It means a paradigm shift.
Completely. Whether it's your hospital records or your bank account, the terrifying reality is that human, quarterly security reviews, they are completely obsolete. We are literally fighting machine speed attacks with machine speed defenses.
Yeah, there is no other way to keep up.
But I need you to break down the mechanics here for me. How does a model like Claude Mythos autonomously patch a bug? I mean, it can't just be highlighting a line of code and sending an email to an IT guy, right?
Oh, no, not at all. Highlighting the code is the easy part. What Claude Mythos does is it identifies the vulnerability and then autonomously spins up a secure, isolated sandbox environment.
On its own.
On its own. It writes the patch for the code, compiles it, and then runs a full battery of tests against a clone of the live environment. It does all this to ensure the new code doesn't break any existing systems, which is usually where humans get bogged down.
Right. Regression testing takes forever.
Exactly. And once it verifies the fix is stable, it actually deploys the patch to the live server. It is doing the job of a senior security engineer, a QA tester, and a deployment manager, all in a matter of seconds.
That is just incredible. And maybe it's just me, it also sounds like a massive concentration of power.
Oh, it absolutely creates an uncomfortable symmetry. The Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance actually just issued a warning about this, stating that offensive cyber capabilities are transforming in months, not years.
Months?
Yeah. So having an AI act as your entire security team, it's an operational necessity at this point, but the structural risk is profound. I mean, concentrating the defense of 150 critical global systems onto a single vendor's model is dangerous.
Because if it misses something.
Exactly. If Claude Mythos has a blind spot in its training data, then 150 critical organizations share that exact same blind spot.
It is quite literally putting the defensive eggs of 15 countries in one AI basket.
Furthermore, even with those 150 organizations protected, the vast majority of the internet is left entirely unpatched. The digest specifically notes that thousands of companies are just sitting on exposed Langflow instances right now.
Wait, okay, what exactly is a Langflow instance, and why is it so dangerous to have one exposed?
So, Langflow is a popular visual builder. Developers use it to drag and drop components to build AI applications really quickly. And because it's meant for rapid prototyping, developers often leave these dashboards unsecured, facing the public internet without a password.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And JadaPuffer is explicitly designed to scan the internet, find those open doors, and literally just walk right in.
So while Anthropic is out there securing the Fortune 500 and national grids, the rest of the web is just completely exposed and vulnerable.
Sitting ducks.
But look, whether we are talking about running autonomous security patches across a whole hospital network, or handling those massive enterprise data protocols that Google and Microsoft are fighting over, AI models need a very specific capability.
They need a massive memory.
Yes. They need to be able to hold an incomprehensible amount of data in their memory all at once. Context windows are the ultimate bottleneck here.
Memory dictates capability.
Yeah.
I mean, an AI cannot patch a system or query a database if it cannot remember the entire structure of the environment it's actually operating in.
Which brings us to the biggest leaked secret in the industry right now, and our final deep dive topic for today, Gemini 3.5 Pro.
Oh, this leak is huge.
The digest reveals that Google's Gemini 3.5 Pro is dropping on July 17th. That is just 4 days from now.
Just days away, yeah.
And the backstory here is fascinating. This model required a full ground-up rebuild. Engineers apparently found structural failures in its, quote, recursive tool calling and its SVG generation in the first version, so they had to tear the whole thing down.
Yeah, they had to scrap it entirely.
So I need a translation on those terms. Why would those two specific things force a complete rebuild of a multi-billion-dollar model?
Okay, so recursive tool calling is basically when an AI agent gets stuck in a loop.
Okay.
Imagine the model tries to use a web search tool, gets an error, writes a script to fix the error, runs the script, gets another error, and just spirals into an infinite loop of trying to fix its own mistakes until it eventually crashes.
It's just a cascade of failure.
Right, it's a foundational logic failure.
Mm.
SVG generation, on the other hand, is drawing vector graphics, and language models struggle to generate graphics purely through math without being able to visually see the output during the drafting process.
Right, because it's just generating text predicting code, not actually looking at a picture.
Exactly.
Okay.
Attempting to force the model to do both of these things simultaneously, the complex logic loops and the blind visual generation, it just broke its foundational architecture.
So Sundar Pichai had to sweat through Google I/O back in May, secretly ask for a delay, and force his entire team to start over.
It was a brutal call to make, but necessary.
But look at the leaked specs that came out of that rebuild. It boasts a 2.1 million token context window. That is double the capacity of frontier models like Fable 5 and Opus 4.8.
Double the capacity.
It includes deep think reasoning and autonomous multi-file workflows. But, and I really have to challenge the hype here, look at the leaked pricing. Google wants $12 to $15 per million input tokens and a staggering $36 to $45 per million output tokens.
It is not cheap.
Plus surcharges if you go over 200,000 tokens. I mean, they delayed this for 2 months because it was fundamentally broken, and now they want to charge a massive premium, especially when models like DeepSeek V4 Pro are sitting on the market offering output for 87 cents a million tokens.
The price gap is massive, I agree.
Is a 2.1 million token context window actually worth that kind of exorbitant price tag?
What's fascinating here is that to answer that, we really have to stop thinking about a 2.1 million token window as just a bigger number on a benchmark chart.
Okay, what is it then?
It is not an incremental upgrade. It is an entirely new paradigm for how a business handles data.
Walk me through that. Like, practically speaking, what does that massive memory actually buy a company?
Well, if this rebuilt model performs genuinely, and by genuinely I mean its ability to recall information doesn't severely degrade past 500,000 tokens, like every older large context model we have seen, it literally replaces entire data engineering departments.
Wow, entire departments?
Yes. Imagine an enterprise company dealing with a really complex legal audit. Instead of building search algorithms to query a database, you can literally dump an entire year of unstructured Zendesk customer support tickets, a massive undocumented codebase, and a complete regulatory filing history into a single prompt.
You are just dropping an entire library of chaotic, unstructured data into its brain all at once?
Precisely. And you get a coherent, reasoned answer back that synthesizes all of that information simultaneously.
That's wild.
And no one in the industry has shipped that capability of production quality yet. So that full rebuild, that is actually the most positive signal in the entire leap.
Really? The delay is a good thing?
Yes, because it means Google found the structural flaws before launch, rather than letting paying customers discover them. If it can actually reason over 1 million tokens of messy real-world data without hallucinating, then $45 a million tokens is incredibly cheap for the workflow revolution it provides.
Because it saves all that human labor.
Exactly. It eliminates the need to organize and structure data before analyzing it.
Okay, that completely flips the perspective. Because if it actually works as promised, it justifies the premium because it is doing the heavy lifting of a whole analytics team.
It really does.
So for you listening, let's just recap the journey we just took through this digest today. We started with what looked like just a chaotic, petty Twitter feud between Elon Musk and Sam Altman, only to uncover that it was masking a high-stakes legal war for physical chip superiority between Apple and OpenAI.
Hardware is destiny.
Always. And from there, we looked at the invisible battle for enterprise software protocols, where 5 tech giants are trying to build new railroad tracks just to choke out Anthropic.
Which naturally pushed Anthropic to defend global infrastructure in an autonomous AI security arms race, fighting machine-speed ransomware with machine-speed sandboxing and patching.
And finally, we saw that the ultimate weapon enabling all of these strategies is the ability to process unprecedented amounts of context all at once, which is exactly why the entire industry is holding its breath for Gemini 3.5 Pro in just 4 days.
It is. But this raises an important question, one that ties all of this together into a reality we are going to have to face very, very soon.
Oh, what do we miss?
Well, there was one final, undiscussed detail buried at the very bottom of the digest today. Cloudflare just opened a waitlist for something called the Buy 402 Monetization Gateway.
The Buy 402 gateway, what does that actually do?
It allows AI agents to programmatically pay for web content using HTTP 402 codes.
HTTP 402, right, that is the old payment required status code from the early days of the web, right?
It is. Cloudflare is turning it into machine-to-machine payment infrastructure for the modern web.
You're kidding.
Nope. No user accounts, no credit card checkout screens, and absolutely no humans in the loop. I really want you to mull this over for a second. Imagine those 2.1 million token Gemini agents we just talked about, right?
Okay, yeah.
Now imagine they're connected to those new Microsoft and Google enterprise protocols, and they are autonomously traversing the web to solve your company's problems.
Unsupervised.
Completely unsupervised. Now connect them to this Cloudflare gateway. You have autonomous agents buying data and API access from other autonomous agents using their own digital wallets to complete your tasks.
So they literally have their own bank accounts.
We aren't just building faster tools anymore. We are building an entirely independent machine-to-machine digital economy.
An economy where the AI agents are both the workforce and the consumers? I mean, that is a fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this helped you cut through the noise and see the board clearly today. Stay insanely curious, and we will see you next time.